It was raining hard that day, the kind of rain that made the city feel like it was weeping. Emma sat alone at a corner table of the only cafe on Maple Street that still had a hint of warmth. She stared into her coffee, her hands wrapped around the mug like it was her last source of comfort. Her laptop sat open but untouched, her mind too clouded to focus. Rejected again. Another interview. Another "we'll call you back" that never came. Rent was due. Her little sister's school fees loomed like a monster in the shadows. Her world was quietly crumbling. The cafe door swung open with a gust of cold wind and the smell of wet pavement. In walked a man, drenched and disheveled, pushing a stroller with one hand and balancing a soaked jacket over the other. The baby in the stroller squirmed and whimpered. Every seat was taken, and as the man glanced around helplessly, their eyes met for a brief second. "Would you like to sit here?" Emma offered, her voice soft, unsure. The man blinked, almost surprised. "Are you sure?" She nodded and shifted her things to make room. "It's just me and disappointment here. You two seem more interesting." That made him chuckle, a deep, warm laugh. He sat down, carefully positioning the stroller next to him. "I'm James. And this little guy is Liam. I'm Emma." For a few minutes, there was silence. Not the awkward kind, but the kind where two people feel safe in each other's presence. Liam started fussing, and James fumbled with a bottle, apologizing. Emma instinctively leaned forward. "Mind if I hold him?" James looked hesitant but nodded. As soon as Liam was in Emma's arms, he quieted, blinking up at her like he knew her soul. "He likes you," James said softly. "I needed someone to like me today," she whispered. They talked for hours. About everything. Emma didn't tell him she was broke and barely surviving. James didn't mention the 5-bedroom house he owned 2 miles away or the company he ran from behind the scenes. They just spoke as two people who'd both seen their share of lonely nights. What Emma didn't know was that James hadn't sat in a public cafe in years. After his wife died during childbirth, grief swallowed him whole. He became a ghost in his own life, raising Liam alone with only nannies and silence. He didn't want pity or attention, he wanted connection. Real, simple connection. And Emma had given him that without asking for anything. Over the next few weeks, they met again and again. Sometimes on purpose, sometimes by accident. Emma would pretend to work at the cafe while playing with Liam. James started to smile more, laugh louder. Emma felt lighter too, like her burdens shrank whenever they were together. One day, while walking Emma home, James asked, "Do you believe in timing?" She nodded. "I believe timing is either your best friend or cruelest joke." He smiled. "I think it brought me to the only person who's made me feel human again." Emma stopped walking. Her heart pounded. She wanted to believe it. But how could someone like her, jobless, struggling, insecure, be enough? "James," she said gently, "I have nothing to offer you. I don't have money, or a fancy life. I'm barely getting by." James stepped closer, cupping her face. "Emma, I have more money than I'll ever need. But none of that ever made me feel seen until you looked at me. You didn't ask for anything. You just gave. That's priceless." Tears welled in her eyes. "Why me?" He leaned in. "Because you opened your heart, before you knew what I had in my wallet." Weeks turned into months. Emma found a new job, thanks to a recommendation from someone James secretly arranged to meet her, though she never knew. James never flaunted his wealth. Instead, he showed up for her, taking Liam and her for walks, cooking her breakfast at his place, supporting her dreams. Emma helped him open up, laugh again, forgive himself for all the guilt he carried as a widowed father. But not everyone welcomed their story. One night at a business gala James invited Emma to, she overheard whispers. "Is that her? That's the girl from the cafe? She's no one. He's just lonely." Emma quietly left, her heart breaking. She didn't want to be seen as a charity case or a project. James found her hours later, crying on the steps of the same cafe where they met. "I don't belong in your world," she said between sobs. He knelt beside her, pulling out an old photograph of his late wife. "You're right. You don't belong in that world. But you belong in mine. And I belong in yours. We build our own world, Emma. One where Liam laughs, and you write, and I breathe freely again." From that day on, Emma stopped worrying about what people thought. They weren't in love with her story, James was. And she was in love with his broken, beautiful, healing soul. Eventually, they moved in together. Not into the mansion James owned, but into a smaller house near the cafe, where they could still walk on rainy days and laugh over spilled coffee. And one morning, as Liam babbled on the floor and Emma brewed coffee, James slid a simple ring across the table. "No cameras. No crowd. Just us. Will you be ours forever?" Emma looked at Liam, then back at James. "I already am." In the end, it wasn't the money or the status that brought them together. It was kindness, the courage to be real, and the grace of two hearts who found each other in a crowded cafe on a rainy day. The story reminds us, sometimes, the smallest gestures, like offering someone a seat, can lead to the greatest chapters of your life.